Hi, Sabrina. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciated your video and the in-depth look you had of the case out of North Carolina. Two articles I found that I think speak to two parts of your video. The first one being the inappropriate relationships and the conflict of interest when it comes to dual relationships is from the article Counseling Ethics, Overview of Challenges, Responsibilities, and Recommended Practices by Josefina Oramos. And in there, it was talked about the impact of ethical violations and the impact it has not only on the disciplined counselor, but the impact it has on the counseling profession as a whole, which I think is interesting to look at because through these cases, we see the impact directly on the counselor, but on the grander scheme, the impact that their unethical actions has on the practice as a whole. Boundary, and it speaks to the need for counselors to know the difference between boundary issues versus boundary violations and the thin line that separates the two. Because there's the assumption what happens outside of the counseling session will not affect the therapeutic alliance. This is what Josefina was talking about, which is an incorrect assumption. And so they went on to talk about in the relationship, counselors must be aware of their emotional relationship with the client. They have to be aware of the power dynamic, the way the therapeutic alliance it works together, and how that relationship affects the therapy process, and then take appropriate steps to eliminate the risk of unethical behavior. Which the big part of this article was the need for supervision and consulting, but also the need for self-awareness, specifically self-awareness in the view of ethical reflection and causing us to step back and view our ethical decision-making models as going forward. The other part that I heard you talking about was the counselor impairment, and specifically looking at the contributions of wellness to avoid role confusion, which was the primary disciplined action in the case that you presented. So I found another article that I found super interesting on the topic, The Experience of Ethical Dilemmas, Burnout and Stress Among Practicing Counselors by Patrick Mullen, Carson Morris, and Mary Lloyd. In there, they found they did a study seeking a correlation between ethical dilemmas and the effect it has on counselor burnout and stress, which they found higher levels of stressors, such as ethical dilemmas, which is common in the practice of counseling, leads to higher stress levels, which, if unchecked, both self-unchecked and unchecked as a profession, has the ability to lead to counselor impairment. And they spoke to this specific study presenting the findings that there needs to be a very clear addressing of ethical dilemmas versus avoiding ethical dilemmas. So they said there is a need for self-awareness, self-care, and self-implementing coping strategies. And it speaks to the need for us to take our training specifically right now around ethical decision making and other parts of our preparation seriously to apply later on. So it points to the importance of the training we're doing now for later. So if I'm looking at this from a biblical standpoint, I think about the word integrity, and we're supposed to step above, not only because we are seeking this profession, but because we love the Lord. And in Proverbs 10:9, it says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his way crooked will be found out. And in our ethical decision making, we are seeking to walk securely, not to please man. Yes, we want to do a great job in our profession, but to please the Lord. So thank you so much, Sabrina, for sharing. Have a great day.